Why did you throw away the flowers, Jenna? I stood there watching her pack, the silence in our Chicago apartment thick enough to choke on. She didn't look at me, just kept folding a ridiculously expensive sweater I'd never seen before. That was the thread, a small, insignificant thread that, when I pulled it, unraveled our entire 10-year marriage. A marriage I thought was perfect. A marriage that was a lie. This story's about how I discovered the truth and made sure everyone else did too. The late nights at the office, the phone that was suddenly always face down, the new perfume she wore that smelled nothing like the jasmine scent I loved, I tried to ignore it. We were happy, right? We had the perfect life, beautiful brownstone in Lincoln Park, 2 golden retrievers, a shared dream of opening a small bookstore someday. But the signs kept piling up. A receipt from a hotel bar in the Gold Coast on a night she was supposed to be at a work dinner. Text notifications that vanished the second I walked into the room. The first real crack appeared on our anniversary. I'd planned a surprise dinner at Alenia, a place she'd been dreaming of for years. I came home early, a bouquet of her favorite peonies in hand. The apartment was empty. I called. No answer. And I texted. Nothing. She finally stumbled in around midnight, her cheeks flushed, smelling of whiskey and that new, unfamiliar perfume. She barely glanced at the flowers or the reservation confirmation I'd left on the counter. Sorry, got caught up, she mumbled, heading for the shower. The next morning I found the peonies wilting in the trash can under a pile of takeout containers. That's when I asked the question. She just shrugged. They were dying anyway, Mark. The coldness in her voice was a physical blow. My heart shattered, but something else took its place. A cold, hard resolve. I wasn't just sad anymore. I was angry. I started digging. It wasn't hard. Her digital life was a roadmap of her betrayal. I found the emails, the secret Instagram account, the Venmo transactions for drinks and dinner with a guy named Mark, her boss. Of course, how cliché, they weren't just having an affair. They were mocking me. Photos of them at our favorite brunch spot, captions filled with inside jokes that were once ours. They were vacationing on my money, laughing at my trust. The humiliation burned hotter than any sadness I'd ever felt. One night, I confronted her. Not with anger, but with a carefully constructed question. Hey, how was your presentation with Mark today? Did the board like the new proposal? Her eyes widened for a split second before the mask slipped back on. It went great, she said a little too quickly. We nailed it. There was no presentation. Mark was on a business trip to Miami, a trip her secret Instagram showed was a romantic getaway. She was lying to my face, so effortlessly, so completely. The woman I had loved, the woman I had built my life with, was a stranger. That night I cried. Not for the loss of our love, but for the fool I had been. But the tears dried, and what was left was ice. I decided I wasn't going to be a victim. I was going to be the architect of her downfall. I spent the next 2 months playing the part of the oblivious, loving husband. I made her breakfast, complimented her dresses, listened to her fabricated stories about work. All the while I was building my case. I hired a private investigator who documented everything. I made copies of every text, every email, every receipt. I consulted a lawyer, one of the sharpest divorce attorneys in Chicago. We planned every step with meticulous precision. I quietly moved my assets into a separate trust. I prepared. Jenna's family was old money, obsessed with their public image and reputation. Her father was running for a local political office, and their annual charity gala was the social event of the season. It was the perfect stage. My lawyer had sent the divorce papers to Jenna's attorney an hour before the event, but Jenna, busy getting ready, was blissfully unaware. She walked into that ballroom at the Drake Hotel on my arm, looking radiant, preening for the cameras, not knowing she was walking into a slaughterhouse. Her father got up to give his big speech, talking about family values, integrity, and community trust. As he spoke, a large screen behind him, meant for a slideshow of his charitable works, flickered to life.
Ow.
At first, it showed a photo of me and Jenna on our wedding day. The crowd murmured appreciatively. Then the next slide appeared. It was a crystal-clear photo from the PI, Jenna and Mark, kissing passionately on a balcony in Miami. The crowd gasped. The next slide was a screenshot of their texts, planning their trysts. Another showed hotel receipts. On and on it went, a perfectly curated exhibition of her betrayal, projected for all of Chicago's high society to see. Jenna froze, her face a mask of horror. Her father stopped mid-sentence, his jaw slack. The silence in the room was absolute, broken only by the frantic clicking of press cameras. I leaned over to Jenna and whispered so only she could hear. I found the flowers in the trash. I then turned, walked off the stage, and never looked back. I didn't need to. I heard the aftermath from friends. Her father lost the election. Her family was a social pariah. Mark was fired and his own wife left him. Jenna was left with nothing. No job, no family support, no reputation. She was utterly ruined. I sold the brownstone and moved out of the city. I finally opened that small bookstore by the lake, far from the noise and the ghosts. Sometimes I hear things about her through the grapevine, but I don't listen. I don't feel anger or sadness anymore. I feel nothing. The love, the rage, it all burned away, leaving behind a quiet emptiness. Last night, I found an old photo of us smiling on a beach in Hawaii. For a moment, I tried to remember what it felt like to be that man, the one who loved her. I couldn't. All I could remember was the scent of wilted peonies in the trash.